Oh, and I guess real quick, I should ask him. I guess I should ask about your project with Arvo that just released. Arvo Zylo. Is there anything about that that should be mentioned real quick? Do you think?
Oh, he really did. You mean the cassette tape album
Yeah.
I did with Arvo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did a real great job with that. I had a lung infection, and very rarely do I ever have the same dream twice. On, I think, 2 occasions in a decade or something, I've had the same dream twice, and it wasn't exactly the same. The only recurring dream I've ever had, you have to listen. I had a dream that I was on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where all the stars are, and I unzipped my pants and pulled out my balls, and then I put them in like Marilyn Monroe's hands and took a picture, and then I went on down the line, and it was like, I'm sleep talking, and I was saying like, Jim Carrey holding my testicles, Tom Hanks holding my testicles, and I'm just listing off all these people, and then I get to the end of the recording part, I guess, and I said that I have an art exhibit, or photography exhibit or something, and I say, I call it the Hollywood stars got my balls in the palm of their hands, like that, and then that's the only recurring dream I've ever had. I had that dream twice. And then I got this terrible lung infection one time in Detroit, and one night I had a dream that I called the pleasure tunnel, and it was this tunnel. It was like a heaven on earth type of place, where like all of your dreams could come true, and they could have like all, I don't know, like parties, like a good time. Like it was just like this tunnel. It was like a sacred tunnel of paradise, like heaven on earth was inside this pleasure tunnel. And then the problem was, because I had this lung infection and I was having really a lot of trouble breathing, I ended up being hospitalized over it. But while I was sleep talking, it was like really labored breath, and I was like really wheezing. And I was talking about the pleasure tunnel, and the thing was, in my dream, it was totally empty. It was totally devoid of life, totally devoid of light. All the furniture had been stolen. Like everything, it was like really bleak, like totally depressing, that there was nothing pleasurable about this tunnel at all. It was just like an emptiness hole you could never get out of, or something like that. And then the next night, because I was still sick, I had this dream called the Temple of Paradise. And it was the exact same thing. There's like this beautiful temple with all this type of stuff, but like it had a sculpture out front that had been stolen, and got graffiti on it. All the furniture was gone. Everything was devoid of all the stuff, and it was the opposite of that. And so then I sent both of those dream recordings to Arvo Zylo intertwined, because they were both approximately the same. The recordings were approximately the same length. Once I cut out the empty spaces where I was just breathing in between, and then he just went wild. He just added all this stuff. He read my text, which is really wild. Now, I don't know if anyone had ever done that before either, where they'd taken my sleep talking and then recited it like a poem or something, like poetry or something. Like, it's really, really cool. He really went way above and beyond. He added so much depth to that bleak recurring dream experience. It was really, really incredible.
What do you think the goal was? Was it to like sort of orally illustrate the pleasure tunnel? Like,
there's nothing pleasurable about it. There's nothing in paradise, and it's just terrible. It's really fascinating, and it sounds real high quality and everything, but it's not. It's like, that's just what I called my 2 dreams. And you would have to ask him probably what he was thinking for it. I think what he did was he just took, because all I sent him was speech and labored breaths and wheezing, and then he like exponentially amplified that through the recitation of the words and the music, and then how he treated my voice, and then how he treated the wheezing and the labored breaths and stuff, and they made he really composed some stuff out of that. So, but I don't know what his motivation was, other than to I don't know how I would say it, not amplify the situation, but express it so much more vividly. That's what he did. It's like if someone writes a screenplay and then someone else comes along and does the cinematography and directing, all the things. Like a script. Like I just wrote the script and then he did added all of the stuff to it.
Cool.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, he has a very hypnotic style to him usually, and I think doing something based on a dream probably fits his style very well. And I think it did actually.
Oh yeah,
with the recording.
The delirious insomniac. I think this is one thing that tied us together in the beginning, was he had some sleep disturbance, so he could explore his own sleep. I forgot about that. You're right. Yeah.
Well, even just his other music, like when I talked to him, he talked about how he's obsessed with repetition and a sort of churning quality, and it tends to have like a very it tends to have a very meditative or like hypnotic sort of effect to it. So doing that to something called like what that you would call the pleasure tunnel, something that was like this like very long and narrow and very encapsulating, like it seems very appropriate to sort of, especially with like that you were saying that's like not very pleasurable. It seems very appropriate to that concept.
Right. Yeah. Plus, I think he was really drawn to the fact that it was the same dream about two different places, but it was the exact same like situation, same feeling, like a recurring. One was a hole, and one was a house, like an empty house. One was a temple where the people went to pray. The other was like a well that turned into a void. So it was like it was repetitive. It was a unique dream experience for me. And I think that's one of the things he was really drawn to, too.
Well, thanks again for talking to me. Like I said, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, no problem at all. I had a blast.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll let you know when I put this up. It'll probably be the week after next.
Awesome. Cool. I will put links online to it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks again.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. How's it going?
I'm all right. I'm listening to a album by Controlled Bleeding called Phlegm Bag Splattered, and it's the first time I've heard it. Really good.
What is it? Is it noise?
Yeah. Well, Controlled Bleeding does a lot of different things, and they were kind of popular for a while in the goth genre. I'm sure they're still popular in some level or another, but I'm a fan. They started out just like, doing noise, just sheet metal and feedback and
Oh, wow.
synthesizers and samplers and screaming and I've got a box set of their stuff and I've got a bunch of their stuff, but I don't have this album, and I'm just hearing it on Spotify now, and it's just all that early stuff is really good.
I find it a little perverse that you use Spotify. I don't know why.
You don't what?
I find it a little perverse that you specifically use Spotify for some reason. I don't know why I feel that way.
Perverse?
Yeah.
Well, it's I shouldn't actually name drop it because they do annoy me. But I can't buy every single thing I'm curious about, and if I do, I'd like to hear it first. At this point, it's like, how many times have you? I don't know. I mean, for me, it's, how many times have I bought something that I kind of, it was more like a charity purchase or something, and now it's like, I'm going to hear it first. I'm going to listen to it on YouTube or whatever it is. And, if I'm not going to buy it outright, maybe I can contribute to like 1/1000th of a penny that this dude might get from me listening to it. But, it's nice because you can just type things in, and it's as if you already have them on a music player, on your media player. So I don't know. I mean, there's actually a lot of noise music on there, believe it or not. So I can hear some obscure artists from like Sweden or something on Spotify now, and not everybody is on it, but
I think it's like iTunes. Like, I think people submit themselves to it as long as they have like their music on Bandcamp, they can get on Spotify.
I don't think so. I think because I looked into it. You got to pay an aggregator or something. You got to pay somebody like CD Baby or something like that, and they'll put it on there, and then they'll also put it on iTunes and all that. And it's like, what's the word? It's
like it's
you have to pay $50 a year or something like that, so that they maintain it on there. And I don't know if it becomes unavailable after you stop paying them, or if it's a one-time thing or what. But I've been considering certain things of mine to put on Spotify. I mean, there are certain things that I think would be okay on Spotify, and other times I just think it would be this awful convolution of what I'm trying to do. Because I like physical products and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm a music fan first and I listen to lots of different stuff first and foremost, and I listen to every format. I mean, I was kind of arguing with somebody about CDRs, and it's like they said they only buy cassettes, and it's like I just don't. I mean, I understand why people like cassettes over CDRs. I totally do, but I've always preferred the Desire output, and there's a couple of cassettes that I've done that it's like after it's been dubbed, I don't expect the listener to like it anymore because there's just something missing from it.
Yeah.
There's like this certain edge that's missing, and so people don't buy CDRs that much anymore, and that's never been something I've been terribly concerned about, but. Anyhow, I've actually gotten off of Spotify several times because their programming sucks, and they don't seem to actually have programmers or developers or whatever that actually listen to music. Because it's more about like, oh, look at this new pop thing in our half-assed like playlists, and there's definitely issues I have with it. Like, it basically just dry humps Facebook, and it doesn't really have its own self-containing thing.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I'm sorry. That was a long tangent, wasn't it?
That's fine. But yeah, how did you? I guess since we're here to talk about Bryan Saunders, how did that collaboration come about? I forget if you mentioned it or not.
Oh, the collaboration with Bryan Lewis Saunders.
Yes.
I I know that I had known of him before he contacted me, but I don't know if I had ever spoken to him in any capacity whatsoever. I think he actually contacted me about sending me stuff, and I had already read his interview or maybe bought something by him, but maybe not. Probably not. I think I read his interview in a magazine that I also write for called Special Interests. And maybe I said something publicly, like on Facebook or somewhere when I was still on Facebook, about liking it or something. But he emailed me and he sent me a bunch of stuff, and he continued to send me stuff. Most notably was, he has a several volume. It's like a box set of cassettes, and it's just recordings of him doing his dream speech, and other people are messing with it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, God, I'd really like to get on board with that. I really, really like that idea, because I've been doing stuff similar to that. I mean, I don't remember most of my dreams, and most often I'm not keen to wake up and start recording stuff. But he's really good at it, because he just takes his dreams, and it seems like he goes with free association with it, and it's hard to tell what's actually his dream and what's kind of just like ad lib from just waking up. But this guy, I don't know how exactly he did it, but he's recorded himself talking in his sleep, and he's got like a whole CD, I think, of just him talking in his sleep, like literally while he's sleeping. So he must have 8 hours of this and 8 hours of that, and he just looks at the waveform and sees little blips where he may be talking or something. But I really admire that, because I've been practicing this stuff periodically, not regularly, but periodically. There's a book called The Einstein Factor, where they posit that there are certain methods to increase your IQ and to increase your creativity and just generally make your mind more active and stronger and stuff like that. But it gets into territory of psychic phenomena and all kinds of stuff, and basically like psychotherapy to some extent. Like it's called image streaming, and you just start with an image. You close your eyes and start with whatever image pops up, and then you just start describing it, and then you start creating an environment where you move around in it, and then so I'll imagine a yellow spot, and then all of a sudden I'll see, some palm trees, and I'm in a forest, and there's some tigers running around, and birds, and whatever. You just keep describing. But after you keep going into it, you get into your subconscious, and also you get to a point where you could just be like, okay, I have this question, and there's going to be a door that opens up in the sky, and I'm going to open that door and go through that door, and behind that door is the answer to my question, stuff like that. It's kind of silly, but it when I was an insomniac, it was a pretty good substitute for dreaming and sleep. It was able to get me through an 8-hour day of work without any sleep. I did that before I went to work.
Sorry, did you try and visit the place in the dream you worked on? Did you try and visit the place in his dream when you were working on it?
No, I mean I didn't want to. But no, the thing about his dream is as I say, I said I really wanted to get on board with it, and it was too late for me to get on board with this project of his, The Confessor, which is several volumes and everything. There had already been a long line of people that he had contacted about that, but I said, I've really got to do something with you about this. And for some reason, he said, okay, well, here's what I've got. And I thought it was amazing. I was like, wow, this guy didn't even send it to anybody. All these big shot noise artists that have been around since the 80s and all that. There's some huge people on that series. And he sent me something that was two different dreams that were the only time that he returned to the same dream. And they were superimposed on top of each other because they were almost exactly the same length. And he said he refuses to let me separate them. So, I was going to try to look at the transcripts and actually separate the audio, and he asked me not to. But to me that's fantastic. It's if you're trying to do a soundtrack to the speech, it might be a little less fruitful. But for me, I love that kind of stuff. And it's like, how many hundreds of times has he done this? And only one time was he able to return to his dream, and he sent that to me, you know?
Yeah.
So on one side, I basically went through and took out loops of his breathing because he had a lung infection at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I made a drone of just breathing sounds, basically, and lots of different layers and looping and, tons and tons of layers. But on side B, I actually woke up and read his transcript. You know, I woke up immediately and had my laptop ready and recorded my reading of his transcript upon waking in one take. And, you know, so I did a recitation on side B of that. Mm-hmm. Made my own little soundtrack for that. So, I mean, it was a really fun and you know, creative experience. It was not just standard collaboration where it's like somebody sends you this tidbit and you send something back, and, you know, or improv or anything, you know. I mean, it was a whole different concept because, well, I mean, there was a specific concept involved, and I also had a certain, you know, I had total freedom, so it was a great joy to do it. I mean, you know, I sent it to him, and he said it was amazing. He had these really great things to say about it.
Yeah.
And you know, I was glad to hear about that, but I mean, ultimately, it was like, well, that's what I came up with. You know, take it or leave it. There wasn't going to be a whole lot of like discussion about it. You know,
and
that's my life.
Yeah. Was there a goal? Was there a goal in mind when you were making it? Because it sort of sounds like, I was telling him, like, it sort of sounds to me like you were trying to create like just a sonic version of what he was seeing. Like, and it's called the pleasure tunnel, and it feels like this consuming sort of endless thing, like almost like you're passing through it in a way.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the side A is not necessarily, you know, meant to be a soundtrack per se, but, you know, it sounds like a wind tunnel, and
yeah.
it's a guy that's very winded, and I didn't know that he had a lung infection at the time. I was just thinking, God, you know, he must have had a serious dream. You know, he must have been pretty startled by it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he had a lung infection, so it was just all these waves of wheezing and heavy breathing, and you could feel and you can hear the mucus, you know, and stuff like that. And just, you know, I guess when I punctuated that, it kind of strikes something primordial in people. I mean, there was a review on Heat of Harvest where the first paragraph is just like, yeah, the sound of breathing, you know, it has such a loaded connotation. There's such so many possible forms of symbolism there, you know. So when you take something that's just entirely breathing, which I've never heard anybody do, I've never heard anybody else make an entire composition out of just breathing sounds.
Yeah.
But when you take something like that and put it by itself, it's like there's so much room for interpretation. There's so many, you know, it's like, why would somebody do that? Or, you know, what are they trying to do? Or what does it do to me? Because it's kind of a primordial onomatopoeia kind of thing. It's like, you know, when you hear an animal screaming or something like that, it kind of strikes something instinctual into you, maybe, you know. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a soundtrack, but for side B, I mean, side B was like, I took all of side A and I time stretched it to be like a second long, mm-hmm. and then I started messing with that, and so the beginning of it is just kind of a cut up sound collage of me messing with the entirety of side A. And then I got into, like a kind of soundtrack monologue thing.
Cool. And how many cassettes do you have left? You said you only had like a handful left if people wanted to buy it.
Right now, unless I'm mistaken, I've only got 2 left.
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure I've only got 2 left. But there are a good amount of copies at Tedium House left. That's a distributor that it's the noise subdivision of Revolver Distribution, which is kind of a big distributor.
Okay.
But it's Tedium House, and they've also got some of the last copies of my Blood Rhythms LP and some other stuff. They may or may not have copies of the 10-minute tape. I told them that they probably don't want to put them for sale on the internet.
Yeah.
So they either gave them away, or they may still clandestinely have some that you can ask quietly about. maybe.
Yeah. And
you know,
well, I guess
they have some other stuff in mind too. That's all I needed to say. I mean, just there's I think there's like 4 different things that I've done that they still carry that I'm pretty much out of.
Okay.